I met a gypsy.
You're getting obviously rider stuff, but manufacturer stuff as well. Like, because I think that's a pretty undersold story in the sport as well. Is just like manufacturer wins, manufacturer titles. Like, what manufacturers are even? It's like Red Bull and Ferrari, or is it Red Bull and Mercedes, or like who? Like everyone could probably figure that maybe Suzuki's not the most, like winning team right now. But maybe I'm wrong. Like, maybe they're just in a slump. Like, even following the manufacturers, and as new manufacturers enter, like, how long does it take Triumph to get a win? Now, can we compare that against Ducati? Like, because we've got that. It took Ducati this long, So I think even on the manufacturer side, there's quite a bit there.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, to your initial point, like, we don't put enough weight into it, I don't think, right? And it's definitely with the Manufacturers Cup, we've kind of tried to push that a little bit more. I think you see it on the broadcast, you see it in the recap show. Yeah, we always try to hit on the Manufacturer Cup now, so it's definitely
which I think is awesome.
Yeah, we've got to. The challenge there is like, what do you associate to the manufacturer? Right,
that's kind of the hard thing, right?
Yeah, and I think. To me, there's one of two things. Like, you got to associate the riders, but we know riders switch. And so the reality is, like, the team managers, I think we've got to amplify that team manager and associate the manufacturer to the team manager and the stats that go with those
almost
guys.
Like a head coach.
Yeah. Like I've been trying to figure out, this is a great one. I've been trying to figure out Roger DeCoster's stats.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Like, Roger's been around forever.
Yeah. How many podiums does Roger DeCoster have as a head coach, essentially?
Yeah. And like, placing that history together is a gargantuan task, because the 70s and 80s is a little bit difficult to get all the pieces. But like, those are the things where I think it's going to bring out the stories in the manufacturers. Yeah. The one this year that's been kind of cool is with Pro Circuit closing in on 300. I'm going to just drop right now is Brett Smith's jinxing us last week because he posted the 299 wins. We're joking right now that it was Brett's. Those guys, man, just rough for Mitch.
That was rough.
It was so rough. And like, hearing the news of Cameron today is a bit of a disappointment, but not any more so than I'm sure how he's feeling right now about it. But looking at those guys hitting 299 wins,
Mitch would have had no idea.
No, and that's stuff that.
And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and Cowie reached out to me 7 weeks ago, and it's like, hey, we think we're getting close to this number. Can you help us with verifying that stuff out? And it's amazing to look at that stuff. Like, Pro Circuit as a team is the 4th winningest manufacturer. Yeah.
Wow.
Right? And so it's just like, those sort of things are things where you just look at it and it's like, oh, there's a story there. So the manufacturer stuff is definitely on my list of like, need to spend more time with.
Yeah.
The one that I'm super keen to, and it's been about 18 months of just on the back trying to build it all out, is all the teams, the full history of teams, and just like factory Honda versus factory Cowie.
Yeah, exactly.
And that to me is where it'll start to get juicy, and like, who contributed the most. And you look at a guy like RV, right? Like, who's fully underappreciated in the sport because he just was so short in his career. But just looking at, he spent his entire career with Cowie.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to come up in a Cowie story.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
Well, what's cool? Like, as I've never really thought of it from that perspective, but let's say there becomes a lot more weight put on the manufacturers. That kind of really incentivizes them to hire more riders. As more weight starts going, and like really having a second guy that's like really good and like really pushing for the teams. Because right now, like, there's not that much incentive to kind of do it. But it's like, you start to really weigh that narrative. Like, it could almost like make the teams better, or make like it becomes more of an investment to build that team name,
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you get it right now with Yamaha.
That's obviously a slow process, but
yeah, I mean, F1 obviously with the two drivers, it's simple, right? It's easy. And you see it this year with the Manufacturers Cup, because Yamaha and Star Racing's obviously stacked and got a bunch of guys that could podium on any given weekend. I don't remember the number exactly, but I want to say, like, in the Manufacturers Cup this year, they've had 12 or 13, maybe 14 riders contribute to points, right?
That's so gnarly.
Which is huge. And it's just because they've got a bench, right? Whereas, like, Cowie's had 4 guys or 5 guys that have contributed points to the Manufacturers Cup. But if you look at it in just raw numbers, sure, you can hire more and you're going to get more. But the way they're doing that, I think the way they do the Manufacturers Cup is pretty cool, where it's just like your best 450 rider and your best 250 rider. And then it nullifies. I mean, you still get an advantage from hiring everybody, right? You got more opportunity to go finish in the top. But it's a way to make it apples to apples across the manufacturers. It's tougher for like Triumph with only a 250 team and Beta with only a 450 team. But
it's more incentive to.
Yeah, it's more incentive to go make the investment in both of those. And the more we can promote it and the more we can look at it, it's a goodness, yeah.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.